Welcome to the Pampered Thoughts podcast, where we are inspiring and encouraging women to love themselves as they are without shame or guilt, focusing on topics such as self love, marriage and family, balance in life and business, and all things woman. Every week, we'll share inspirational topics that focus on helping you to overcome your struggles and limitations with lack of identity, low self esteem, self love, confidence, and so much more. I'm your host, Veronica Scurry, a wife, mom, speaker, entrepreneur, and more importantly, a daughter of the King. Hey, y'all. Welcome to today's episode. I hope you had a grand and pampered week. I am your host, Veronica. And if you're new to the Pampered Thoughts podcast, as I say every week, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am thankful for you listening in, taking a few minutes of your time to see what we have to talk about on the Pampered Thoughts podcast. And if you are not new, and you've been here before, you know that I love that you're rocking with me every Thursday. Thank you so much for joining me for a happy half hour. I just appreciate each and every one of you. I adore each and every one of you. And I am grateful that you take time out to listen in. So just know that truly from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate each and every one of you because you do not have to do that, but you do. And so I'm thankful for that. Since this is Thanksgiving weekend, I don't really celebrate the holidays like I used to, but we can be thankful every day. So it doesn't necessarily have to be for Thanksgiving or for one day out of 365 days. We should be thankful and grateful every day. And so I am thankful for each and every one of you. I'm thankful for this opportunity to be able to share my story. Hopefully, the podcast is helping you all. Hopefully, if you've gone through some of the same things that I've gone through, hopefully this is encouraging to you. Hopefully this podcast is giving you some things to think about, some steps and some tips of how to move forward in whatever situation you may be in. If you haven't done so already, please take some time to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Pampered Thoughts and Twitter at I Am Pampered. Show me some love, and I will definitely show you some love back. Also, take some time to subscribe, to rate, review the show, especially if it's helping you. It really means a lot to help and get the word out about the Pampered Thoughts podcast. This week, I have entitled the episode When You Come to Yourself. And I titled it that because last week, as you all know, I shared some information about our next journey in life, our next season in this journey. And as I was talking, I mentioned a few of the things, and actually in my previous episode, it wasn't the previous one, but a couple of weeks ago, where I talked about get out of your own way and self sabotage. I share a little bit about one of the things that I kind of dealt with as it relates to a fear of success. I wanted to kind of delve in a little bit more into that because I just felt led to kind of share. And when I think of when you're coming to yourself, or you begin to think about who you are as a person and who you are not as a person to yourself, but who you are to others and how you relate to others, it's a big deal. It's a very big deal. As I explained in previous episodes, that being in the travel business, I excelled super quick. I was a serial entrepreneur and I got into a lot of different network marketing companies, and none of those companies actually really were successful for me. I got in with the hopes to leave a legacy for my family, to bring in income that could help my family, help us to live debt free, to be able to travel more, to be able to do all of the things that we like to do. One of my biggest goals was to retire my husband from his job. And none of those previous network marketing companies actually worked out for me. When I say I've done a lot, I can count on three hands. Or maybe even more of the companies that I started. And when I started this travel company in 2017, I had the same hopes and the same dreams that I had when I started the previous companies years ago, some 18, 19 years ago, just trying to really make it as an entrepreneur, trying to really do what I can do to not necessarily have to work in corporate America or just to be my own boss.
Like what you've heard so far? Great. Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you so much for your support. Now back to the show.
And so when I started this company in 2017, I was excited. I was ready to go. Started working the business, listening to my mentors in the business, and the business really took off for me. It was something that was right up my alley because I love to travel. I've always been able to travel. With my parents, when we were little, they would take us every year somewhere during the summertime, and just travel was really in my blood. As the business began to take off, I succeeded in becoming a director in the first year. And when I became a director, that's a big deal. It's celebrated, even though all of the other steps before that are celebrated. But to become a director, that's a big celebration. When I hit directorship, I was excited, but I got overwhelmed. And I got overwhelmed to the point to where my brain just started to kind of run. Because one thing the Bible says is that to whom much is given, much is required. If you had told me years ago that I had a fear of success, I wouldn't have believed you because I was working for success. I was working to fulfill my dreams, my goals, and the things that I had planned. But in this business, this was actually working. It was working so much to the point that once I hit directorship, I got overwhelmed because now I'm wondering what happens now? What do I do now? I have an organization of over 100 people that I'm responsible for, and that scared me. It scared me to the point to where I began to kind of back away and I began to not really know what to do. And when I get to that point, I just kind of close in within myself and I didn't put as much effort forward as I should have. Because of that, I backed away from the business for at least a good year. At the time, I didn't know that that was a fear of success. I didn't know what was actually happening. My mentors in the business were asking me, Veronica, you were doing so good. You worked so hard to get to this point. What's happening? What's going on? What's wrong? I didn't know. I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea why I was feeling the way that I was feeling, but I just knew that it was something that was not right. It was something that I just hadn't experienced it before. Yes, I had worked multiple businesses, multiple network marketing businesses, but none of them were successful. So I didn't know what success looked like. I didn't know what actually would happen. But this time it actually happened, and I became fearful of success. Fearful, not so necessarily of the idea of knowing that I could succeed because I had already succeeded, but fearful of the changes. What was going to happen next? What did I have to do now that people are looking at me as a director, as a leader in the company? I had never hit the leaderboard before. I had never gotten to this place where my organization had grew to so many people. So I didn't know what that looked like. And I became fearful. And so when I stepped away, it was about a year. And as you all know, my father passed away last year. So that completely took me over the edge. But after everything, kind of going through that process, the grieving of my father, and just really doing a self evaluation. I'm very big on self evaluation, and I needed to figure out what was going on. Why was I feeling this way about my business? It had almost gotten to the point to where I actually really didn't even want to go forward with it because of just some internal things. Not necessarily that the business didn't work, because even in those 2 years, the year that I stopped from the business and the year that I took off to grieve for my dad, I was still being paid. So the business worked and I was still receiving the income from my work, but I just didn't know what to do. And it wasn't until I was speaking with my business mentor that I realized I was actually fearful of success. Everything and all of the people that were congratulating me, people I didn't know, people would come and say, I've been watching you, good job. That was fearful for me. I didn't know what else was going to take place. And so, as I did that self evaluation and I began to realize I was actually fearful of success and what that brought for me because it looked unfamiliar to me, I began to come to myself and I began to think I've already reached this level in this business. So I'm capable of doing it. It's just a matter of now, what's the next step? What do I do now? And there's really nothing different that I have to do. It's just a matter of I just have a different title, I guess you would say, a different position as a leader in the business. And so once I came to myself and I began to think about the Father blessed me with this business, I had received words that I would start this business well before I actually started it. I had received word that my husband would be able to take paid vacations and it would be because of me. And we were actually doing that. We spent a week in Jamaica from my business. It was happening because I had won the trip at a Jamaica travel agents event. That was a paid vacation and we loved it. We enjoyed it. We had so much fun. So the business was working, everything was going the way it was supposed to. It's just that I didn't know what to do. But when I came to myself, I realized that the things that I had been praying for, the things that I was believing the Father for, and that He had told me were going to happen were actually happening. It caused me to kind of push away. And I thought about, and you might be familiar with this story of the prodigal son. The story of the prodigal son, and I won't go into the full details of the story. You can read that on your own. Story of the prodigal son was that this son had gotten his inheritance from his kingly father. He got it early before his father passed away, and he went and he squandered it doing all of the things that he wanted to do, no regard for his future, no regard for anything. And because of that, he ended up in a pigsty, eating with the animals and living pretty much like a person who you would consider to be maybe homeless or whatever the case may be. He started living like that. The whole time, his father was someone who had money. He was someone who had wealth. He was someone who was of importance. And it says one thing in that story, it says, when he came to himself, he realized who his father was. He knew that his father had a kingdom where if he went back to him, he would live the life that he was born into, that he was born to live. He knew that his father was a man of importance and had wealth, he had servants, he had a kingdom that was way more than what he had at the moment. But when he came to himself, he went back to his father. And he basically said, why am I living like this when my father is a king? When my father has all of the things that I'm lacking. And that made me think, why am I sabotaging myself? My father has given me these words that I would be successful in this business. He's given me these words that I would be able to do these things, that I have favor in the business. And all of these things are coming to pass. Granted, they came quickly, but they came to pass. And so I want to encourage you all today to take time, evaluate yourself, evaluate your situation, evaluate your journey that you're on. Are you self sabotaging? Are you sabotaging your efforts where you may have received a word from the Most High? You may have received a word in prayer, or you may have received a word about your business, about your relationships. Yes, you can sabotage yourself in relationships. A prime example is a woman who she's been treated badly, abused by every boyfriend she's ever had, whether that's physical, emotional, verbal, whatever it is, she's been abused. And so when that one person who the most High has placed in her path to come and to change her life. When that one person comes and he treats her good, he shows her that he loves her, he shows her that he wants to be with her, that he's going to protect her, he's going to provide for her, he's going to cover her. She begins to push him away because she doesn't know how to accept that love because she's never received it before. All she's ever received was black eyes. All she's ever received were insults and criticisms. For her now, this person has come along and he's changed the game. He's shown her that he wants to love her. He's shown her, he compliments her, tells her how beautiful she is, tells her how great she is, how much of a blessing she is. And because she hasn't had that, she sabotages the relationship. She may break up with them, or she may pick fights with them because she doesn't get it. She doesn't understand. She doesn't know. She hasn't experienced what she's experiencing. So she sabotages the relationship. You may have done what I've done with my business. I began to push away and to push back because that success that I was receiving, it was unfamiliar to me. I never received it before in the other businesses that I've had. And because of that, I pushed away. I backed away because I didn't get it. I didn't know how to take it. There may be some things that you might be going through where it may not necessarily be a fear of success, but a fear of failure, a fear of rejection. You're caring more about what others think about you than you actually living out your goals and your dreams. The Father has placed gifts on the inside of you. He's giving you talents that the world is supposed to see, but you're holding back because you're fearful of what other people are going to say about you. I'm telling you today, evaluate yourself, evaluate your situation, evaluate your journey, and find out what is it that's causing me to back away? What is it that's causing me to not want to move forward with what the Father has for me? A lot of times we can pray and we can believe and we can have faith for others more than we even have faith for ourselves. We can encourage people, we can motivate people, we can do all of these things for other people, but we don't believe it for ourselves. Why is that? Because we haven't come to ourselves. And it's not the fact that you're coming to yourself and you're doing it to be prideful and you're thinking that you're going to just change the world all on your own. No, you're coming to yourself because you know who your Father is. He said that I have fearfully and wonderfully made you, meaning that nothing about you is imperfect. But he said that everything that he made was good. So who said that it was a flaw? Who said that it was an imperfection? Did he say it? He said that everything he made was good. So when you come to yourself, you're coming to the understanding, just like the prodigal son did. He came to the understanding that my father is a man of importance. My father is someone who is a kingly person, who has all of the things that I don't have at this moment. But he will welcome me with open arms. And that's exactly what happened. He came back to him and he told him he was sorry and that he repented not only to him but to the Most High. And his father celebrated him coming back. When we come to realize who we are as kingdom children, as people, we don't operate on the world's economy. We don't operate on the world's kingdom. We operate according to the Most High in a heavenly kingdom. So when the Father sees us, he sees who we are in him. He didn't give us gifts and talents to just sit on them. Do you know how many people you can help? You may be a writer. You may be a singer. You may can draw really well. There's so many things that you can discover about yourselves when you stop and you self-evaluate. Look within yourself. And if you're not sure, ask the Most High, Father, what are the gifts that you've given unto me? How can I impact the world? It may not even be impacting the world on a hundred people at a time. No, one person at a time. You may be a teacher and you may end up being that favorite teacher. One kid looked at as that's my favorite teacher because they took time with me, because they showed me how to do something where everybody called me stupid or where everyone looked down on me. They showed me how to do it. So that's my favorite teacher. They believed in me. You may be a nurse and you may go to a patient, and that patient really loves the way you help them, the way you nurture them and you care for them because they weren't receiving that anywhere else. You may be a janitor that can touch someone's life. It doesn't matter what it is that you do or what gifts you have. Yes, I know that a janitor's position looks as if it's a lowly position, But if you don't have janitors, who's going to clean the bathrooms? Who's going to clean the trash? So we can't look at something that looks like it may be lowly and look down upon it. A lot of people strive to be on stages and they strive to be well known and they strive to get the accolades and the glory from people. But you don't see the behind the scenes of the people who built the stage, the people who work the audio, the people who work the technical stuff. You just see the person who has the light on them. But who's shining the light? Who's making sure their audio sounds well? Who's making sure that the camera follows them back and forth? The behind the scenes is way more important. I won't say way more, I'll say just as important as the person who's seen before many. Because if it wasn't for those that are behind the scenes, the person that's in the front won't be seen. So stop and think, what gifts, what calling did the Father place on the inside of you that you're neglecting because you may not feel worthy enough, because you may not feel that you're capable enough? And put those thoughts aside, whether it's a fear of success, whether it's a fear of failure, of rejection, no matter what it is. Don't look to people to validate you. Look to the Most High to validate you. Realize who He is as your Father, as the Most High, as the Creator of heaven and earth. Look at who He is in your life. Are you even spending time with Him? Are you seeking Him for wisdom and for direction? Think about it and see, are you really doing what you should be doing at this moment and at this time? A lot of times we can settle because we don't believe we're capable of doing what the Most High has given us to do. Just as Moses, he didn't know that he could go and free these people because he had a issue with speaking. But because of that, the Most High told him, he got angry with him and he told him, I created you. I created the deaf. I created the dumb. I created all of these people. I know what capabilities you have, and I wouldn't tell you to do anything if I knew that you couldn't do it. So, what is it that you're talking yourself out of? Change your self talk. Believe what the Most High says about you. He created you, He knows what He put on the inside of you. Trust Him and believe that He's able to fulfill all of the purposes. Even in my past episode, I said you have what it takes because He already placed it on the inside of you. But you have to come to yourself. You have to realize who you are. We are capable. We are powerful people because He made us that way, not of our own doing, but we also have work to do. The Bible says that faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of the Most High, the word of Yah. But it also says that faith without works is dead. So there's some things that you have to do in order for your faith to be alive. We can pray all day, but if we don't put the work behind it, the dreams and the goals and the prophecies that you received are not going to come to pass until you actually do the work. So, if I can encourage you today, take time to evaluate where you're at. Evaluate the gifts and the callings and the talents that you have and realize who you are according to the Most High. Seek Him for wisdom. Seek Him for direction, for advice. Come to yourself. Think about who you are in the kingdom. Don't try to walk in someone else's shoes. You walk in the shoes that you fit. Don't go after someone else's gifts. Don't go after someone else's talents. If the Father only gave you one gift, you use that gift to the best of your ability. If He gave you 10 gifts, you use those 10 gifts to the best of your ability. Be all that He's calling you to be. Realize who you are in Him, and He'll definitely help you to succeed. Everything that you put your hands to will prosper when you believe and you have faith that He's working on the inside of you and that He's leading you and that He's guiding you. And so I hope that this episode has encouraged you today. I hope that you take some time, evaluate what's going on in your life. Look and find things that you may have sabotaged yourself in unknowingly, not necessarily on purpose, because I didn't know when I was going through what I was going through. I didn't know that I was sabotaging myself or that I was going through that because I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know it was a fear of success, more so a fear of change because I had never experienced it before. So it was unknown to me. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know that. So I needed time to kind of pull away and see what was going on. And I asked the Most High to reveal it to me, and He did. And if he did it for me, he can definitely do it for you. And so I hope that you are encouraged. I hope that you go forward in all that the Most High is calling you to do and to be. There's a whole world that needs what you have to give. And so, with that being said, until next time, stay pampered.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Pampered Thoughts podcast. Be sure to visit us at www.pamperedthoughts.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, or RSS, so you'll never miss a show. You can also check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Pampered Thoughts and on Twitter at I Am Pampered. As always, subscribe to the show to catch a new episode every week. And if you found value in the show, please leave a rating on iTunes and tell a friend about us. We want to continue to bring you the episodes you love. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, stay pampered.